The Palm Beach Civic Association expands its communication outreach with a state-of-the-art television studio. We call it Studio 33480, the zip code for the beautiful island of Palm Beach. Sponsored by Finley Galleries, our goal is to bring you in-depth interviews with the most colorful and knowledgeable personalities on the island. And now, our host.
Welcome to Studio 33480. I'm Claudia Shea. From Worth Avenue here in Palm Beach to West Palm Beach and throughout the county, this area has earned the moniker Wall Street South, and for good reason. Palm Beach County has evolved into a magnet for financial services and life sciences companies. I would like you to help me welcome our guest today, Kelly Smallridge, who is the longtime CEO and President of the Business Development Board and also a driving force behind all of this growth. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Before we delve into exactly what is happening right now in Palm Beach County, Wall Street South, let's talk a little bit about the Business Development Board and your mission and purpose.
Sure. So the Business Development Board was formed almost 42 years ago with a very simple mission. Remember, the foundation of this economy was built on agriculture, construction, real estate, and tourism. And chambers of commerce and business leaders got together to say we would like to complement those industries by bringing in high-paying jobs. So that is the purpose of this organization, is to bring in knowledge, information, and technology jobs that pay a higher average salary.
And over the last couple of years, we have seen so much growth, particularly in the financial services industry. Talk to us about that, what role the Business Development Board had in that sort of pipeline from the Northeast especially to this area, and what really put that in motion.
So it's an interesting evolution, and most people think that this Wall Street South initiative started right after COVID. It did not. The premise for it started 20 years ago when the board got together and said, if you really take a look at the companies that are moving to Palm Beach County, by and large, it started with an executive who bought a second home here. And so we started analyzing 42 miles of coastline and zooming in on their homes once purchased, identifying who the individual was, almost semi-stalking, in identifying the individual, the company they were affiliated with, and doing a soft sell to say, now that you've come over the bridge to your home, have you really ever considered operating a business here? 20 years ago, that was unheard of because everyone thought we were fun and sun and just the beach. Fast forward now to COVID, over 100 companies have come through our office, and we have just recently trademarked the term Wall Street South.
And what would you attribute the growth during the pandemic to?
A lot of things. One thing very clearly is that executives knew that Florida was open for business, that Florida schools were open for your students, both public and private. We've always had a low tax environment, a governor that is pro-business, a county government that's pro-business, city government that's pro-business, office buildings, Class A, that were getting ready to open up. It was such an alignment of the stars of those 5 or 6 things that made it so prime. So as these executives decided to shelter in Florida, they looked around and said, we really could do business here in Palm Beach County. And it had a certain panache and appeal, the name Palm Beach. And so it went well with their name, whether it was a hedge fund, a private equity, a Wall Street, a wealth management. It just went well, and they really liked this environment, and many of them came and signed not just 1-year leases, 5 to 8-year leases. So I think they're here for the long term.
Well, we're seeing a lot of that growth in West Palm Beach. The entire skyline is changing. What about Worth Avenue? We know there's some growth going on there too in the financial sector.
Yes. So recently, Ken Griffin, who you would say is the largest hedge fund in the United States, recently bought the Neiman Marcus building. And while we know that Ken Griffin of Citadel also bought a lot of residential real estate here on the island of Palm Beach, he put the vast majority of Citadel in Miami, out of Chicago. That's okay, because we're going to get a sliver of Citadel here in Palm Beach, and that has created national and international recognition for Palm Beach, where the outsiders are saying, if Ken Griffin could select Palm Beach, then it's good for my business as well. And it just creates a really big buzz and public relations that this Economic Development Board could never afford otherwise. So we love those slivers of business, even if it's not the headquarters. It still bodes well for Palm Beach.
In addition to Wall Street South, we're seeing the life sciences industry just explode with medical services. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
So if you remember 20 years ago when we recruited Scripps out of La Jolla, everyone thought, will we really ever see the development of a life science cluster? Shortly after came Max Planck. Fast forward to today, over 700 life science, healthcare, and medical device companies are here. Some really exciting news is that the University of Florida now owns Scripps. And across the street from the Scripps campus is a 90-acre parcel which will eventually be developed for the life science industry. DePuy Synthes, Zimmer Biomet, just to name a few, are two multi-billion-dollar international companies that have significant operations in Palm Beach Gardens, along with many other medical device companies. On top of the research, the medical device, we have about 16 hospitals already anchored here in Palm Beach County. University of Florida is going to put a satellite hospital with Jupiter Medical out in Avenir. UHS has announced they're building a 240-bed hospital on Donald Ross Road. And very confidentially, about 3 other unnamed hospitals are looking at opening up shop here in Palm Beach County from outside of the state.
We'll have to have you back in the future and
Yes,
give information on that. Also aviation, like no pun intended, but really taking off.
Absolutely. So one of the reasons we're taking off is, remember, way back in the 1950s, Pratt & Whitney landed on a 7,000-acre parcel of land off the Beeline in 1 million square feet. Shortly after that, they spun off Aerojet Rocketdyne to the right and Sikorsky helicopters to the left on the same campus. So imagine all of the ancillary, again, about 1,300 aviation aerospace companies. The amount of technology that resides in that industry and the defense contracts is fueling those firms to grow even more. A matter of fact, 39 of the elements in the Artemis rocket were designed and engineered right here in Palm Beach County by Aerojet Rocketdyne. So if you look at Belcan, Parametric, Agilis, and the list goes on, our county is very rich in those aviation and engineering jobs. And what a great story, because remember, going back to your first question, all of these clusters and our desire to build that is so that our children will have good jobs and that this will be an economically sustainable environment for Palm Beach County, not seasonal.
Well, speaking of that, our workforce. So how is the Business Development Board helping the workforce? It seems like a lot of these industries would be bringing in employees, but how's it looking just, as far as hiring people who already live here?
So most companies really have a stronger desire to hire locally. They don't have to do a relocation package. They don't have to worry about bringing someone in from another state and that employee not really liking or adjusting to this area. So they prefer to connect with Florida Atlantic University, Palm Beach Atlantic, Lynn, Palm Beach State, Nova Southeastern, and all of our universities, including Kaiser, to hire students that are graduates and then to come directly into these more technology type of jobs. But we have to remember we have a 2.3% unemployment rate. So when you ask what are we doing for the workforce, for every person looking for a job, there are 3 jobs available for them. We really partner with CareerSource. As we create the jobs, we ask CareerSource to come in and meet with the company to find out who is available for employment. The other good thing about Palm Beach County, unlike other areas in the United States, is this is an attractive place to live. Young people now want to live here. When I was growing up, the average age seemed like it was 65. Today, the average age is 39 and a half. So it is attractive to recruit to this area for a job, but most want to hire locally. And so we are pairing the universities with the companies to understand what the skill sets are required so more local people have an opportunity to take a job.
Well, speaking of education, I know that recently several educational leaders, private and public school leaders, and you, went up to the Northeast trying to recruit businesses. What was that about, and how did that work out?
Good question. That's a pretty bold initiative that the Business Development Board led, whereby we thought all of these New York, Boston, Greenwich, Connecticut companies, we learned that they were not looking at our area at the current time because they thought there was no opportunity for their children to get into private schools, or they had the wrong perception of the quality of our public schools. So we gathered up 25 private school headmasters and a very strong leader from the superintendent's office to go with us to promote public schools. And every hour on the hour for 2 days, we had families come into a boardroom, partnered with the related companies, had these executives come in and talk to us. What are your concerns? What do you know about our public and private school system? And it was amazing, Claudia, to see they knew very little about how great our educational offerings are in this county. And it wasn't about if they will locate to Palm Beach County, it's about when. So why not just go ahead and nip what their major issue was and create a group of leaders in the room of which mom and dad could call on personally when they're going to relocate their young children to this area. So it was a personal touch, and we really handled a lot of concerns of these executives.
With all of this growth, how do we address the housing issue, though, the housing shortages? Real estate is obviously very expensive right now.
Yes. So if you ask me what was the number one obstacle to growing the economy right now, I would say housing is at the absolute top of the list. I can remember doing speeches just several years ago, and I would say, wow, the average cost of a house is $250,000. We can't believe how much it is. And now the average cost of a house is closer to $650,000. And I think that the passing, the county with the support from the Economic Council and the business leadership to create a housing workforce bond that will encourage 20,000 units over the next 20 years is a step in the right direction, but it really is just a Band-Aid to an overall bigger issue. Our county and our local governments are going to have to get past the NIMBYism, and that is everybody wants workforce housing for their employees, but nobody wants it in their backyard. And I don't think that many of our cities really understand the value of creating great workforce housing, because those residents then spill out into your retail and your restaurants, and they spend dollars in your neighborhood. So we're not talking about public housing. We're talking about housing for people who have good jobs here in Palm Beach County. So we hope the workforce housing bond will create some units, but quite frankly, I think one of the biggest issues is the cost of land in Palm Beach County. So unless there are some incentives to throw in the cost of land or bring that value down, it's going to be very difficult for us to keep pace with the demand.
How do you strike a balance, though? Okay, so you have all of this growth.
Right.
And how do you strike a balance with quality of life?
So I think that, and I've been the economic development president for 20 years, I think that's something that makes my leadership of this organization unique. And that's for one reason. I was not brought in from the outside. I was not imported to be the executive here, do 5-year stint and leave. I was born and raised in this area. I'm a product of the public school system. I care about the quality of life. I want to spend the rest of my life here. So I want to strike a balance. And because of that, we've created a growth and infrastructure task force. And the purpose of that task force is to say, okay, we've created some really great jobs. Our average salary was very, very low. It now leads the state of Florida as the highest average salary in all 67 counties. Now, how do we lean in to addressing roads, housing, and education? And those 3 issues, we are using our bully pulpit to say, yes, we believe in good quality growth, but we also want this to be a wonderful place for us to live, a great place to get your children educated. And so we have to not only just recruit and retain companies here, we have to continue to make sure that we're addressing those issues that impact our everyday life here.
So as we look to the future, what exciting news do we have coming, or how do you see all of this evolving over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years?
So we have more office space being built right now than we had in a 10-year span just in the city of West Palm Beach alone. So if you look at One Flagler, you look at the brand new building at Banyan and Olive, look at Jeff Green's building, and then there are several others on the drawing board. Imagine that 2 million square feet will become open pretty soon, and there will be a combination of existing companies going in, but a lot of new firms. So there will be a lot of job opportunities for people that have a variety of skill sets. So that's very exciting. I think our healthcare system, you're going to see some new players in that industry as well. You're also going to see additional companies in manufacturing, distribution, and logistics, because if the population increases and we have access to 3 ports and 3 airports, you're going to see those types of jobs. A matter of fact, after COVID, there was not one Amazon facility in Palm Beach County. Today, there are 5 Amazon facilities in Palm Beach County. So I think the future is very bright for this area, and you have a lot of great leaders, both public and private, business, government, and education leaders working together that have equally been here a long time, that want to continue to see a very, very high quality of life and a great business environment for everyone in Palm Beach County, regardless of what type of education that you have.
It's really interesting, I think, also, besides bringing these industries down, a lot of these leaders are now making room for residential space in their buildings. They're bringing down some of the restaurants that were their favorites on Wall Street.
You're absolutely right. This movement of this particular Wall Street South clientele, it has led to so many positive changes in Palm Beach County. In addition to bringing the restaurants with them, and now I think we are a foodie haven.
Yes.
Yes, you're right. There are many upscale residential developments, especially in luxury condos, that are being built throughout Palm Beach County, along the waterfront, and even inland as well. But there's one more thing that you didn't mention that I think is very significant. Our nonprofit community is benefiting greatly from this latest wave of companies that are coming in, because these companies want to become ingrained in the community. So whether you look at the Palm Beach Zoo or the Science Museum or the Norton or the Kravis Center, many of them are receiving record donations, not just from their normal base of donors, but from this Wall Street South movement that's come in. And I think that's great for all of Palm Beach County, because our cultural offerings are becoming world-class. And what better than to raise a child in an environment where you have an outstanding zoo, an outstanding science museum, an outstanding Norton, Kravis, Boca Raton Museum of Art and Innovation. That's a great plus for our area. And it's been very gratifying to see the boost, the ancillary impact of this Wall Street South play into this nonprofit community, even all the way to your food bank. And so I think that Palm Beach County is going to continue to thrive and see worldwide recognition. When you say Palm Beach, everyone knows Palm Beach. So there is no fancy other moniker for this area. You put Palm Beach in your address and everyone knows where you are.
That's so true. And then another benefit that I think is getting to be very obvious is the way many of these industries are opening their doors to students for internships.
Very important. Our students have the best opportunities in the business environment right now. A matter of fact, every February we hold a career showcase for high school students to get on a bus from their high school, come to the Palm Beach County Convention Center, and around the perimeter there's aviation, financial services, technology, biotech, manufacturing, distribution, and logistics. They get to, for the first time, shake the hands of an executive in an industry. And the point is to show these children that you don't have to go to New York or Chicago or Greenwich or Boston for a big job. Those big jobs are right here in your backyard. And we want to make those introductions and motivate the students to understand the career path. Whether it's a high school degree, a 2-year degree, a 4 or beyond, they will find something right here in Palm Beach County.
Great information, Kelly. Anything I didn't ask you that you would like everyone to know?
I think it's very important that we as economic developers, and we represent all 39 cities serving on the front line, we are not here to plow down parks or green spaces to go vertical. The Business Development Board simply markets whatever commercial space is there. And that's another way we strike a balance, is you'll never see us lobbying a city government to go vertical. They are the design and engineering team, and we are the marketing and sales team. I think so often people see economic developers as the ones that sort of destroying the beauty of an area, and that's not what we're about. If a city or the county decides to go vertical with a building that is for economic development, then we will give our best effort to fill that building. But you will never see this organization, and especially me, lobbying a government to tear down a park and turn it into a commercial establishment. And that goes to your question further about how we maintain the quality of life for all of us in Palm Beach County.
Kelly, we appreciate your time here on Studio 33480, and we look forward to seeing what's going to be happening next.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And thank you so much for tuning into Studio 33480. We'll see you next time.
Studio 33480 is brought to you by the Palm Beach Civic Association, our sponsor, Finley Galleries, and our viewers. We welcome your thoughts on how our programming can best serve our members and residents.